Thank you for watching NMH at 1, where we highlight pertinent news and current affairs, community stories from across Namibia, as well as international headlines.
Now here's what to expect in this lunch hour. Namibian watchdog groups have raised concerns over perceived delays in tracking down Namibian lawyer Maren de Klerk. The Health Ministry has launched the country's first paediatric theatre at the Windhoek Central Hospital in collaboration with the Scottish charity Kids Operating Room. Two lawyers representing one of the key figures in the Fishrot fishing quotas fraud and corruption case, Tamson Fitty Hatuikulipi, suggested that Hatuikulipi should be granted bail for 200,000 Namibian dollars.
Stay with NMH at 1. Economic news, sports updates and international headlines coming your way, read to you by Aina, Kweyo and Diana Master.
In today's midday news update, the road between Otavi and Tsumeb is open again after a truck stood across the road in the early morning and blocked all traffic. The truck has been removed.
Leave us a comment on our social media platforms to engage with these stories. Visual news coming your way.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact b7@synergy.com.na.
Starting off our visual news, Janine and Etienne Boats are the owners of the Grow Getters strawberry farm that has recently become more popular among locals. Have a look into their business with Elizabeth Joseph.
Welkom Namibië. Hierdie is 'n eerste van sy soort vir ons land. Ons is baie trots en ons nooi julle uit om ons te kom besoek hier by Grow Getters farm. Ons is geleë net so 40 km buitekant Windhoek, suid van Windhoek, langs Umaya Golf Estate. So by ons kan julle op bespreking kom en julle kan julle eie snyblomme kom sny. Ons is baie opgewonde om dit nou oop te maak. Ons maak dit oop hierdie week. Ons is natuurlik eintlik bekend as die arbeidsplaas. So ek wil julle graag gaan wys in ons tunnels. Julle kan kom, bring die familie, pak 'n piknikmandjie, kom pluk julle eie arbeie. Dis spot goedkoop, dis 'n baie lekker outing. Ons het perdjies vir die kinders, lekker koeltebome vir julle om te kan kom piknik hou. So ja, kom sny vir julle blomme, kom pluk vir julle arbeie, kom spandeer die oggend by ons. Ons sien uit om julle te ontvang. So op Grow Getters farm is ons eintlik bekend vir ons supersoet arbeie. Ons het ook 'n eerste van Namibië ons grond oopgemaak vir die publiek om self te kom pluk. So ons nooi julle uit. Ons is 40 km suid van Windhoek. Kom asseblief, bring die familie, kom pluk jou eie arbeie. Dit is die beste arbeie wat jy nog ooit in Namibië geproe het. En dis baie bekostigbaar. Dis 'n baie lekker outing vir die gesin. En ons sien uit om julle hierso by ons te kom sien.
Mariental is currently experiencing a shortage of potable drinking water. This morning, the Mariental main water reservoir stood very low at 13%, resulting in some part being without water. Listen as the Chief Executive Officer of the Mariental Municipality, Paul Ngiwilepo, speaks about the seriousness of the town's current situation.
Wat ons het is, NAM het vir ons ingelig dat hulle 'n probleem het met die filters by die suiwering gister. So ons het die situasie gemonitor gister om te kyk hoe loop dit. Die opgaardam, die main reservoir van die dorp, het gedrop tot 13%. Wat heeltemal 'n krisis was vir ons, want daar sommige dele van die dorp van Mariental was sonder water en die wat nog water gehad het, die druk was so swak. Jy weet toen het gister en vandaag zo warm was, die affecteert ons ook die aircons en die mensen bij die kantoren. Allemaal productiviteit wordt geaffecteerd, want het is warm. Ik heb nog vanochtend, ons het gisteravond net ons die water, die dorp se toevoer toegemaakt van 9 uur tot vanochtend 5 uur. En die dam het weer opgeteld naar 34% toe. Ons het dit nou weer opgemaakt. Obviously, als je water voor zo lang toegemaakt hebt, dan moet het nog eerst die netwerk volmaken, voordat hij weer een beetje druk kan optellen. Zo, ons kijkt nou, sommige gedeeltes van die dorp beginnen nou water krijgen, maar nog niet allemaal het water. He. Ons is bezig om water aan te rijden voor die mensen. Ja, maar dit is een goede situatie. Ik moest met verlof gegaan en ik heb het gecanceleerd, want ik moet nou aandacht geven aan die situatie, crisis waarin ons nou is. Dan moet ik zeggen, die probleem is die filters, daar is net één filter wat werkt. En die filter kan ons nog niet bij die man hou, of bij die onttrekking van die water door verbruikers. So hulle bly maar agter met die voorsiening van drinkwater, omdat daar net een filter is wat nou basis werk. En hulle kyk nou om so gou as moontlik die ander filters te herstel, maar hulle kan nie vir ons dat tyd gee wanneer dit gedoen sal word. So kom ons nou die mense vra om water te spaarsaam selfs ons maak hier ons sportveld goed, ons maak hier ons sportvelde nat, ons maak hier ons bome by ons begraafplase, ons bome in die strate, ons het nou opgehou om dit te doen, om net bietjie water te spaar. So dit is die situasie waarin ons is. Mense is nie happy daaroor nie, maar ja, ons kry maar ons net water van damwater. So hulle het hierdie probleem dat hulle nie vir ons genoeg water kan voorsien. Selfs die tyd toe die dam op 5-6% was 3 jaar terug, het ons nie so'n crisis gehad. So op so'n groot skaal is het die eerste keer dat die dam tot by die level by 13% gesak het. Ja, en dit is waarom. Gewoonlik dit gebeur nou hierdie tyd, Desember, Januarie, is die tyd wat ons, as jy kyk na ons gebruiksprofiele, is dit die tyd wat ons die meeste water gebruik. In die somer. So, dit is ongelukkig dat dit nou hierdie tyd moet gebeur.
After the break, we review pertinent stories from the country's daily newspapers. Stay with NMH at 1.
The My.NA Cars Show provides viewers with the best in-class cars content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest cars-related news, products, and services. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Cars, more than just a ride.
Namibian Sun leads us into the newspaper review with Namibian watchdog groups that have raised concerns over perceived delays in tracking down Namibian lawyer Maren de Klerk, who insists he is a whistleblower and has implicated prominent Namibians, including President Hage Geingob, in the Fishrot corruption scandal. De Klerk was easily traced by the South African publication The Sunday Times and told his side of the story via email and phone. He said he fled Namibia for his safety and offered to testify remotely in the looming corruption trial, on offer rejected by Namibian authorities. On the paper's page 3, the Health Ministry has launched the country's first paediatric theatre at the Windhoek Central Hospital in collaboration with the Scottish Charity Kids Operating Room. The theatre, officially opened last week, is set to significantly reduce the financial burden on the state, which until now has referred 90% of its paediatric surgery cases to private entities locally and in South Africa. Until recently, child surgeries were performed in adult operating theatres when possible, unless the children were transferred to suitable and often more costly pediatric facilities elsewhere. The new facility is fully equipped with child-friendly operating tools and equipment.
Now, Afrikaans daily newspaper Republican reports the community of Rehoboth is outraged after the town council implemented the so-called 2013 valuation rule, which brought about an increase in property taxes of up to 400%. The community is now threatening to take the council to court. Lenny Pienaar, a former council member, said yesterday that they had written to the council with a request to meet. This is due to the council's failure to inform the community about the new rates and to respond to the many irregularities in the municipal accounts. On Sunday, during a community meeting in the town to discuss the rates, Pienaar said the town's council administrative staff were disrespectful towards the public, especially the vulnerable pensioners who demanded answers. On page 3, the Namibia Agricultural Union intends to get involved in the legal battle in which affirmative repositioning activist Job Amupanda is demanding the removal of the veterinary cordon fence, also known as the Red Line. The union, which represents commercial or non-subsistence farmers, will therefore become the sixth defendant in the case. On the 26th of May last year, Amupanda requested a court order to have the fence removed and declared illegal and unconstitutional. He said Carl Schleitwein, as Minister of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, the government Attorney General Festus Mbadeka, and an official in the Directorate of Veterinary Services, Hango Nambinga, as defendants in the case. The Mid-Council of Namibia has meanwhile been added as the fifth defendant following its request to be included. Two commercial farmers, Andre Kapian and Dietelhem Metzger, also joined the case as third parties.
Now, the Allgemeine Zeitung today leads with an article about the Interior Ministry celebrating the announcement of a policy on migration finalized after 5 years of persistent promises. However, nothing can change for migrants, especially immigrants, until the Oversight Committee is brought into being, and that can take time. On page 3, the Allgemeine Zeitung brings an interesting snippet. Namibia's Minister of Agriculture, in his capacity as President of the African Ministerial Council on Water at this year's UN Water Summit, emphasizes how important groundwater resources are to the future of African economic development. That brings us to the end of the first half of our newspaper review. We start off the second half with what's leading on the Namibian front page.
The Evening Review is a daily interview-based talk show that dissects and expounds on current affairs as they occur in Namibia. The show aims at reaching Namibians of all age groups who seek better understanding of the state of current affairs in the country. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: Namibian Sun and Namibia Media Holdings. The Evening Review focuses on interviews, latest news, and up-to-the-minute current events. Contact evening@synergy.com.na. Evening Review, unpacking today's pertinent issues.
The Namibian reports on its front page that former Education Minister Katrina Hanse-Imara says those who are complaining about her appointment by President Hage Geingob to the SWAPO Politburo this past weekend should continue to cry. The media reported on Sunday that Geingob had appointed Hanse-Imara and lawyer Sisa Namanje to the SWAPO executive body. Hanse-Imara failed to make it to the Politburo during the Politburo elections on Wednesday last week. She lost to another party leader, Maria Elago, after a rerun between the two. The Namibian's page 3 reveals the two lawyers representing one of the key figures in the Fishrot fishing quota fraud and corruption case, Tamson Fitty Hatuikulipi, suggested in the Windhoek High Court yesterday that Hatuikulipi should be granted bail in an amount of 200,000 Namibian dollars. In a written argument filed at the court, defense lawyer Richard Metcalf and Florence Bierkes have proposed to acting judge David Munsu that he should grant bail in an amount of 200,000 Namibian dollars to Hatuikulipi on condition that he hands in his passport to the Anti-Corruption Commission investigator, does not apply for new travel documents, may not leave the district of Windhoek without permission from the ACC investigator, and should report at the ACC head office in Windhoek every morning and afternoon. In his closing and oral arguments, Metcalf said that 10 men charged in the Fishrot case were sacrificial lambs who were being regarded as guilty until proven innocent instead of being treated as innocent until proven guilty.
Now, according to New Era, contrary to claims that there is illegal mining of lithium in Karibib, the town's mayor, Davy van Veek, has said he does not understand why the police are arresting residents for picking up stones. With lithium mining booming globally, there have been activities described as illegal mining of precious stones which contain lithium in Karibib near the railway station. The activities of residents flocking to the site started some 3 weeks ago, which prompted the police to intervene. This led to some residents having been arrested, including a prominent pastor in the town. According to the paper's page 3, a man who was arrested for allegedly swindling Defense Minister Frans Kapofi of his money will take the stand next year to answer to the allegations. Owen Mahoto will be tried on 2 counts of fraud with 2 alternative charges of theft. During his court appearance before Windhoek magistrate Umanavi Kamboa, Mahoto, an electrical engineer by profession, has informed the state has finalized investigations into his case and the matter is ready for trial.
Namibia transported 917,952 tons of cargo in September 2022, of which 342,624 tons were transported via road, according to Namibia Statistics Agency. In August 2022 and September 2021, 1.1 million and 1.2 million tons of cargo were transported. Cargo transported via transport in September 2022 was dominated by a consignment of coal, petroleum oils, except crude and beer made from malt, claiming 35,102 tons, 31,717 tons, and 12,394 tons, respectively. In August 2022 and September 2021, cargo transported via the road stood at 325,034 and 357,723 tons, respectively.
Now, Anglo-American said production across its operations will be lower than expected in the next couple of years, the latest big miner to warn on its ability to hit output goals. We'll be back with this story and more from the world of economics right after this break.
Hi Nangula, you look sad.
Hi Peter, I am sad because my parents argued about whether I should spend the weekend at my mom's or dad's place. When I asked them why my views were not considered, they told me it has nothing to do with me as I am too young.
That's a job for your cape of participation. It can fix that.
My cap of what?
Your rights. They're your superpowers. Your cape of participation is your right to participation. It means you have a right to participate in decisions which affect your life. You have a right to an opinion and to tell people your views in a respectful way.
For more information, contact the Children's Advocate Namibia in the Office of the Ombudsman on 061 20 73 111. Send us an SMS on 20401. SMS costs 40 cents. You can also send us a message via our Facebook page. Remember, the services of the Children's Advocate are free of charge.
Now let's take a look at the news headlining the economic scene. Anglo-American said production across its operations will be lower than expected in the next couple of years, the latest big miner to warn on its ability to hit output goals. While the largest miners continue to reap bumper profits from high commodity prices, the industry is also struggling to reach volume targets. Anglo's operations have been hindered by everything from logistical issues and extreme weather to fallout from the pandemic. Glencore earlier this week lowered forecasts for 2023 on most of its commodities. The industry's inability to achieve output ambitions is exacerbating already tight supplies as the world struggles to adapt to Russia's increasing exclusion from the global economy and disruptions from COVID-19. Anglo said that its output of all commodities, with the exception of diamonds, will be lower next year than it had previously forecast, with lower expectations across the board for 2024. Estimates for platinum group metals were hit especially hard, as production likely will be lower for the next 3 years, with total output falling as much as 12.5% by 2025 from this year's already lower target. By lunchtime on Friday, Anglo was down 2%, while its Anglo-American platinum unit slumped almost 6% in Johannesburg. Anglo, which expects total production to grow 5% next year and again in 2024, also said costs will continue to rise as inflation hurts the industry. The company could take a write-down on a potash mine it's developing in the north of England.
Now moving on to our next story, the Competition Tribunal has approved Shoprite's proposed acquisition of certain Massmart-owned supermarkets, wholesalers and liquor stores. It also gave Shoprite the go-ahead to buy Massmart's Messfresh business too, but with a lot of conditions. Shoprite initially made an offer to buy 56 grocery stores from Cambridge Food and Rhino Cash and Kerry and 43 adjacent liquor stores earlier this year. It also wanted to buy 10 wholesale cash and carry stores, 2 wholesale liquor stores and Messfresh and Fruit Sport. It made an offer of 1.36 billion rands to Massmart. The Competition Commission recommended that the tribunal approve the deal in May. The tribunal announced on Sunday that after a 3-day major hearing and various information requests, it has approved the proposed transaction with certain conditions to address identified competition and public interest concerns, including a condition that Massmart divest from 10 stores identified as highly problematic.
Now let's take a look at the economic indicators. $1 will now cost 17 Namibian dollars and 60 cents. Taking a look at the NSX Paratus Namibia holding stocks are now trading for 13 Namibian dollars and 20 cents after a 1.5% increase in price, while the rest of the stock prices on the Namibia Stock Exchange remain unchanged. Local index increased by 0.29%, while the overall index decreased by 0.06%. Gold is valued at $1,786 while Brent crude oil is valued at $79 and 8 cents per barrel.
Uganda's veteran President Yoweri Museveni accused Europe on Wednesday of brazen double standards towards Africa in its climate and energy policies. Stick around to find out more on this story and other stories from the African continent right here on NMH at 1.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia. as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and oneup2.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Algemeine Titan, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Let's get into the news from Africa. Uganda's veteran President Yoweri Museveni accused Europe on Wednesday of brazen double standards towards Africa in its climate and energy policies. He lashed out at Europe's return to coal-fired power plants in the face of energy crisis triggered by the war in Ukraine, while at the same time telling African nations not to use fossil fuel. "We will not accept one rule for them and another for us," Museveni wrote in a blog published on Wednesday that coincides with the UN's COP27 climate summit taking place in the Egypt resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. "Europe's failure to meet its climate goals should not be Africa's problem," he added. Museveni's comments followed warnings from the African leaders at COP27 about the damage climate change is already wreaking on the continent. The UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in February warned that tens of millions of Africans face a future marked by drought, disease, and displacement due to global heating. Wealthy nations have failed to provide a pledge $100 billion a year from 2020 to developing nations to help them build resilience and green their economies, reaching just $83 billion according to the UN. Africa's carbon footprint is the lowest of any continent, accounting for around 3% of the global carbon dioxide emission. "We will not allow African progress to be the victim of Europe's failure to meet its own climate goals," said Museveni, one of Africa's longest-serving leaders. "It is morally bankrupt for Europeans to expect to take Africa's fossil fuels for their own energy production, but refuse to countenance Africa use of those some fuels of theirs." Museveni said European nations needed to end their brazen double standards and hypocrisy, and took aim at what he said were conditions that Western investment in fossil fuels in Africa was possible for the oil and gas that would be sent to Europe. Earlier this year, France Total Energy and China's National Offshore Oil Corporation signed a $10 billion agreement to develop Uganda's oil field and ship the crude through the 1,445-kilometer pipeline to Tanzania port on the Indian Ocean. The project, which includes drilling in the Martian Falls, Uganda's largest national park, has run into strong opposition from activists and environmental groups that says it threatens the region's fragile ecosystem and the livelihoods of tens of thousands of people. The European Parliament in September adopted a resolution calling for the project to be deployed over rights violation, infuriating Kampala.
Now, on our next story, Nigeria's police have killed 3 gunmen while repelling an attack on an electoral commission office in southeastern Nigeria. The attackers tried to storm the main INEC office in Owerri, capital of Imo State, police said. The INEC headquarters in Owerri were attacked early this morning by gunmen who destroyed part of the building, furniture and equipment. Michael Abatam, spokesman for the Imo State Police, told AFP. An exchange of fire broke out. 3 of the attackers were killed and 2 were arrested, Abatam added. Nigerians will elect a successor to President Muhammadu Buhari at the end of February. Buhari, a former army general, is not standing for re-election after 2 terms in office and a record that is seen as disastrous, with the country in the grip of a severe economic crisis and widespread insecurity. Several Aina offices have recently been attacked, particularly in the southeast, where separatist groups are active. Aina spokesman Festus Okoye confirmed the attack in a statement Monday, saying it was the 3rd such incident in Imo State in 2 weeks. The INEC recently warned of the threat of increased violence during the election campaign, adding that it had recorded at least 50 attacks since the exercise began nearly 2 months ago. Now, although no group has claimed responsibility for the new attack, southeastern Nigeria has seen a large number of attacks attributed to the indigenous peoples of the Biafra movement, IPOB, which seeks the rebirth of a separate state for the Igbo ethnic group, has repeatedly denied any responsibility for the violence. According to local media, more than 100 police and other security personnel have been killed since the beginning of last year in targeted attacks.
Now, moving on to our next story, Chad releases 139 detainees from protest crackdown in October. The move comes a week after more than 260 people were handed out a jail term of between 2 to 3 years. At least 139 people have been released in Chad after being arrested during a bloody crackdown on anti-government protests in October that killed dozens of people. They are free to return to their families. Mahamat Alimane, a deputy public prosecutor at the Jamena court, reportedly said, referring to people released from Korotoro, a prison 600 kilometers from the capital. A total of 59 were reportedly acquitted and 80 others received 1 to 2 years of suspended sentences. Their release comes after the court handed out jail terms of between 2 to 3 years to 262 people on Monday, a move deemed illegal by defense lawyers. The defendants were charged with taking part in unauthorized gathering, destroying, arson, and disrupting public order. On October the 20th, Chadian authorities said about 50 people were killed, including 10 members of the security forces, and more than 300 were arrested after police opened fire on demonstrators.
Now, anti-government protesters blocked roads and stormed the international airport in Peru's second city, Arequipa, as deadly unrest intensified on Monday. We'll be back with this story right after the break.
Kom kuier gerus elke Vrydag aand saam met Arjouger, waar hy vooruitskouing doen van wat op die sportvelde reg oor die wêreld gaan plaasvind. Daar word op die naweek se top internasionale sportgeleenthede gefokus en plaaslike sport in Namibië asook Suid-Afrika word in oënskou geneem. Die kenners praat saam en huidige asook oud spelers gee hul mening en ons hoor grootlik sommer uit die spreekwoordelike perd se bek. Niemand weet met sekerheid wat die naweek op die sportveld gaan gebeur nie, maar iemand weet wel watter faktore die uitslae kan beïnvloed. Ons praat met daardie iemand wat weet, en soms word geheim ook uitgelaat. Vrydaande is ons in die tonnel gereed om uit te draf. Dit is jou Vrydag afspraak wat jou ingelig gaan hou, alvordat die spelers uit die tonnel opdraf. Sport is ons passie, sien jou in die tonnel.
Starting off our international news this afternoon, anti-government protesters blocked roads and stormed the international airport in Peru's second city, Arequipa, as deadly unrest intensified on Monday. Supporters of leftist former President Pedro Castillo took to the streets in anger at his impeachment and arrest. Dina Boluarte, his successor and former deputy, proposed bringing general elections forward by 2 years to April 2024 in response to the protests. But Castillo called Boluarte's plans a dirty game. At least 7 people have now died in clashes with the security forces since protests erupted over the impeachment of Castillo last Wednesday. He was accused of corruption and detained for attempting to dissolve the opposition-controlled Congress just hours before it was due to vote on his impeachment. In a handwritten letter that he tweeted on Monday, he called Ms. Boluarte an usurper and said he had been kidnapped and humiliated. Supporters of Castillo argue that Boluarte was not elected by the people. They are demanding that Peru hold new elections, with some also calling for Congress to be shut down and Castillo released. Protesters blocked roads and set fire to vehicles on Monday, and an estimated 2,000 stormed the airport in the southern city of Arequipa, blocking the runway and forcing flights to be suspended for several hours. Police finally dispersed them with tear gas.
Belgian investigators searched offices at the European Parliament in Brussels on Monday in a probe into alleged bribes from the World Cup host Qatar. It was the 20th search carried out since Friday, and the Parliament President Roberta Metsola warned members of the European Parliament that democracy is under attack. Belgian police have charged 4 people, among them European Parliament Vice President Eva Kaili, a Greek MEP. Qatar has denied any wrongdoings. MEPs will debate the scandal today. Belgian prosecutors said cash worth about 600,000 euros was found at the home of one of the suspects, 150,000 euros at the flat of an MEP, and several hundred thousand euros in a suitcase in a Brussels hotel room. Computers and mobile phones were also taken. Searches have taken place in both Brussels and Italy since Friday. The IT resources and 10 parliamentary employees have been frozen to prevent the disappearance of data necessary for the investigations. 4 suspects arrested by Belgian police have been charged with participation in a criminal organization, money laundering and corruption, prosecutors said in a statement on Sunday. Kaili, a member of the European Parliament for 8 years, was suspended from her duties as one of the 14 vice presidents by Parliament President Metsola. She has also been suspended from the Parliament Socialists and Democrats group and expelled from Greece's centre-left PASOK party.
That's it for our international news. After the break, we take a look at the news headlining the local sports scene.
Kletskompas is 'n Afrikaanse kontinuïteitsprogram met Namibiese nuus en onderhoude. As jy jou handelsmerk of veldtog op hierdie platform wil vertoon, kontak klets@synergy.com.na.
Starting off our local sports news, Philippus Shanika is a man on a mission today as he steps into the ring to face South Africa's Refuane Mushungwa in a boxing event that forms part of the J for Joy boxing event in celebration of King Msizulu Kazwelithini of the Zulu Nation.
21-year-old sprinter Sade de Souza ran a personal best that improved the Namibian national record in the 60-meter indoor race last weekend. De Souza, a student in sports science who represents Carson Newman University tennis, ran in a time of 7:43 seconds at the Kega Field House indoor event in Sale, Virginia on Friday.
Closing off local sports, the 4th edition of the Okapia Annual Sports Tournament will take place on the 22nd of December 2022 until the 25th of December at 11 Morning Star Sports Field near Andimba Toivo Airport. The event aimed at uniting the youth during the festive season, and organizers believe by doing so is the only way to reduce crime letters during the festive season.
We bring you international sport shortly.
Now, there is a 52% win probability for Argentina, but their two key elements, Marcos Acuna and Gonzalo Montiel, will be missing in action due to excessive accumulation of yellow cards. Will they still be able to come out on top, or will Croatia turn their 20% win probability into 100%? We'll find out tonight as Lionel Messi and Luka Modric battle it out to get one step closer to lifting the famous trophy before retirement.
Now, Manchester United manager Eric Ten said centre-back Harry Maguire had a really good World Cup and urged him to replicate his England form at the club when the Premier League restarts.
Ospreys head coach Toby Booth is calling on his players to cut out unforced errors as they seek to turn their form around amid a tricky fixture list. Toby Booth's team have only recorded one victory in the Vodacom United Rugby Championship this season, and that was 10 weeks ago against Glasgow Warriors.
Argentina and Lionel Messi face Croatia on Tuesday in a World Cup semi-finals that pits South American flair against the goal of Luka Modric and a remarkable fighting spirit. In the second semi-finals on Wednesday, reigning champions France take on giant-killing Morocco, the first African team ever to reach the last four of the World Cup.
If you're just joining us, this is NMH at 1, and we will get into the highlights from today's broadcast right after this short break.
We are back again with another episode of your favorite show,
Varsity and the youth generation through Zone, Varsity and School News. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
You're watching NMH at 1, and if you're just joining us, here are your news highlights. Uganda's veteran President Yoweri Museveni accused Europe on Wednesday of brazen double standards towards Africa in its climate and energy policies. Anti-government protesters blocked roads and stormed the international airport in Peru's second city, Arequipa, as deadly unrest intensified on Monday. In sport, 21-year-old sprinter Sadede Sousa ran a personal best that improved the Namibian national record in the 60 meters indoor race last weekend.
Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 o'clock to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa and the world, ranging from current affairs, economic news, sports and international headlines. That is all from all of us here in studio. Please don't go away because regional review is coming up next.
Good day, viewers, and welcome back to Regional Review. My name is Monique Adams, and I'm your South correspondent for Namibia Media Holdings. Well, today we're celebrating World Violin Day. It is easily the most popular bowed string instrument across the world, and we are really not all that surprised to see that the violin does in fact have a day dedicated to its existence. After all, everything from Western and Indian classical music to bluegrass and jazz would be unimaginable today without the violin. It's quite possibly the most versatile instrument in the world in terms of repertoire, and that's why there's a Violin Day to celebrate.
take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and oneup2.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Algemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
So let's kickstart the show with a quick trip to Aruap and take a look at a few highlights captured at the launch and opening of the Learning Center in Aruap that was sponsored by the Japan Embassy.
By your speech.
What an entertaining event full of smiles and laughter. Now we take a look at the highlights of the year 2022. As we are reaching the end of the year, we take a look at some of the events captured here right in the south, the Quotas region. So let's have a look and have fun.
NMH at 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact nmh1@synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion.
Go into the industry. Every organization is actually preparing for non-linear environments. Things will not be normal anymore. Normality has become a language of preparations. So we really also need to think that the context of education will not be normal. What I mean is that it's not going to be obvious where you just walk into a class and start writing on a chalkboard. So you have to use the technology. Now you need skills to bridge you between your skills that you have to teach and the tools that you have to use actually to communicate what you have to teach to the students. It's not going to be the walk into the park. So, and you should not actually hide, no, me, I'm old, or no, me, I was taught under this, no, me, you must be ready to conquer everything. And I can tell you, you'll become the most relevant or the teacher of the choice. So please take note of that. As from COVID-19, the teacher education landscape faces many disruptive forces. For instance, due to the unprecedented challenges in the communications and information technology space, the world is battling with the increasing disappearance of the divide between machine and human beings. The aspects of the fourth and the fifth industrial revolution is dominating the global discourse to illustrate how machinery is increasingly gaining intelligence to take over most of the activities or functions that were previously carried out by human beings. Actually, education is becoming a commodity. In about 5 years' time, because you now need to prepare yourself, I'm really saying this, and it will become a reality. In 5 years' time, kids would not want to come to universities and spend 4 years. They would want to balance life, working and studying at the same time. Now you need to think what type of an environment should be, where Gideon should be the whole day at work and at the same time a full-time student at the university. This will become a reality. So therefore it will become a commodity. So kids will be shopping around looking for the best education or for the best institutions that is actually meeting their needs. So if you want to teach standing in front of a class from 7:30 to 4, you will not have students. Students will actually go to another institutions that will offer them a different education. So how are you going to fit in there? Because you are now training teachers who should fit into this very challenging environment. That's why I'm saying things will not be just obvious. The environment will become very non-linear, so that's why you need to plan for that non-linear environment. And this it's actually sounding like a joke, but I can tell you in 5 years' time, no one wants actually, because parents will not have money to pay for their kids. Kids must work and pay for their education. So they need to balance.
Let me know when.
Yes, you can.
All right. Hello, my name is Tiffany Miller, and I'm the Public Affairs Officer at the U.S. Embassy here in Namibia. And today we're in Ludovitz to celebrate the graduation of our second cohort of women entrepreneurs from our Academy of Women's Entrepreneurs program. So this is a 5-month-long program where we've had 50 women from across 4 different regions, Karas, of course, Orongo, Ohangwena, and Oshana participate in a program called Dream Builder to learn more about being an entrepreneur. And so this program provided resources and tools on how to build and grow their businesses, ranging anywhere from how to come up with a business plan to pitching to how to go about getting funding. And so today we have the opportunity to celebrate the second cohort. Our first cohort we started in November 2020. So currently we have almost 70 women who have participated in the program, who are in various stages with growing their businesses, and we're looking forward to being able to support them more. Because at the U.S., we want to partner with Namibia on creating an inclusive economy, and helping women is key to that inclusive economy. Thank you.
Chill Sessions is an entertainment show that brings you the latest hits, fashion, and entertainment news. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact chill@synergy.com.na. Chill Sessions, bringing art and entertainment to the people.
Now we take a trip back to Windhoek, where we experienced, after COVID-19, the Tourism Expo of Namibia 2022. So let's take a look at this interesting and exciting video that takes you around the area so you can get a look and feel of what it was like.
Take a squat, you get my squat, my squat. Ask is, Salad Craig.